Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. We've been doing this series in recovery. Russell and I have been, and so welcome back. Today, we've got an exciting guest. We have Tim Lawson in the studio with us, and we're going to talk about a resource that you could run in your community specifically for men. And so, Russell, you're the one that you've actually gone through this program.
Yeah.
It's called Life Relaunch.
Life Relaunch. And this is basically that's what it boils down to. It's a life relaunch. So I was volunteering at the Pulaski County Jail. I've probably been up there like a year and a half. And I got introduced to a guy that runs M18, which is a spiritual, religious-based treatment center. Yeah,
treatment center.
Yeah. And he was like, "Man, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, why don't you come with us? We're going up here to this cabin. They got a pool, got a lake. You go fishing and all this." And I was like, "All right, man." And I go up there, and it was a life relaunch. I was in a rut at the jail. After volunteering at a specific place from 8 o'clock in the morning till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like a real job, it gets tiresome.
I would imagine.
But that life relaunch, it rekindled that flame inside of me to help others. And that's how I met Mr. Tim.
So you met Tim at the Life Relaunch that you didn't want to go to, but got suckered into.
Yeah.
And so Tim,
We love that.
yeah.
Kind of
So
the,
Tim, you volunteered in lots of different, and currently volunteer in a lot of different locations.
So I met same guy, Blake. He's the instigator of Life Relaunch, and kind of the same MO. Come and spend a couple of days and just go through. You just got to go through it, and so I did.
Not knowing what it was.
Not knowing.
Y'all both went.
No.
I think I knew just Blake and a couple of the men at his treatment center, but all the other men, I didn't know none of them. Yeah. And I met them there. It's like real prominent men. They own businesses. Some of them own treatment centers. Some of them were preachers. Some of them were, like, I would have never met these men. All those men would have never been in that group, any other conditions,
Yeah. I didn't know anyone either. Josh Foster and I were invited and went together. Faith Assembly of God, I think, is where the relaunch was that I went through middle of January of 2020, and it was it was so life changing that I knew that was something that I wanted to tap into, just as you said, another resource to have available.
And so, Tim, what is it?
So we have an agenda. We just don't tell you what that agenda is. Right, Russell?
Yeah.
How long does it last?
So there's it's a 2-day event.
I think ours was 3.
Just 2-day, Friday, Saturday, and then sometimes we do sometimes we'll do a Sunday. Saturday, Sunday, to make it available to more community men, men that are working.
So this is a program for men.
It's a program for men. There is a women's life relaunch. They've just started that. Arkansas is kind of the a testing ground for the women's relaunch. There's been over 200 men that have gone through life relaunch in Arkansas alone. 2,000 over, I think, about 5 states right now that have gone through life relaunch weekends. And it's just, it's a scripted program. There's sessions. We share meals together. We have begun to do our relaunch at Fawn Hollow, which is a lodge type. So we're spending Friday night together, all day Saturday. We usually wrap up with a ceremony at on Saturday afternoon around 4:30, and then start on Friday morning about 8 o'clock. We have lunch together. It's all designed, timed. Breaks are timed, and it's just we create, as a facilitator, team leader, our responsibility is to create a safe place where men can find trust, where they can feel, where they have the opportunity to work back through some issues, that they've never told anybody. That's our goal, is to create that atmosphere where they sense there's a level of trust.
Where we can cry.
Where you can open up and,
For real.
you know the old saying, what happens here stays here.
Yeah.
And we live by that. And that's our, that's our thrust behind this, is we have to create, and it happens very quickly, the ability to create that atmosphere of trust, and I can't tell you how it happens. It just happens. And so Russell's event was probably the largest one that we had ever done. I think we had 40-something men go through that weekend, did it John 3:16.
So is this something, so in the recovery space, this is for Alliance members that are trying to help clients or their loved ones, struggling with addiction, Russell. And what role would you see this play in someone's life as they're kind of battling substance abuse?
This is a safe place, a getaway, a relaunch, your mind, spirit, and body.
It is faith-based.
Yeah.
It's a Christian program. And what if someone's not Christian?
They can still go.
Okay.
They can still attend.
And how would someone find out where there's going to be a relaunch?
So Life Relaunch is under the umbrella of We Can Ministry. They can go to www.wecanmin.org, and there's a launch there where you can go to launch Life Relaunch and register. And we're going to communicate with you very quickly. We're going to send the invitation out to you from there, and you respond back if you want to, participate.
How much does it cost, Tim?
There's no cost. Most
Okay.
amazing thing is there's no cost.
So others have given
Absolutely.
so that
Absolutely.
you could come and spend the
Absolutely.
night and
And have
eat
that
meals.
experience.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
We have ministry partners that supply our materials, ministry partners that provide the lodge for us, ministry partners that provide the food for us. So there's no cost. The only thing that costs you is 2 days, a Friday and a Saturday. and
how often do they occur?
right now we're doing them about once a month. We're trying to expand that out where we can host a couple a month. We've tried the large events, and the probably the most difficult. So when you go through Life Relaunch, you have the option to come back and what we call co-facilitate, where you can actually become the facilitator. The facilitator is the important part of this of the weekend, because we pray and try to plug men in, led. We want the men to be matched to that, and however that works. And so facilitators are tough because everybody's working. So as you go through the Life Relaunch, we invite people to come back and go as a co-facilitator. That means you come back and you walk through with a facilitator how to facilitate. And then once you do one, you come back and you're the facilitator. And so there are some times where you'll present a presentation, a session, and then there's one-on-one time. And it's so important that each of those individuals get linked to that person. And I don't know how it happens. It just happens. It's a spiritual moment, and it occurs. And the facilitator's responsibility is simply to be a guide and make a safe place for that individual that man to feel comfortable enough to share his his deepest secrets of his heart. That's really what we're trying to do, and relaunch somebody back into that journey.
So again, if you wanted to, you're watching this and you wanted to, or a loved one, or you've got a client that you would recommend this to, it's WeCan, WeCanMin.org, WeCanMinistries.org. And that's Dr. Larry Pillow.
Dr. Larry Pillow is the director of WeCan, and he is the one that introduced Life Relaunch here in Arkansas. And so he is we call him Father.
So Dr. Pillow has helped many facilities, faith-based recovery facilities get started and
absolutely
help them maintain their ops.
He's the founder of Renewal Ranch in Conway. And Fresh Start Ministries. That's another umbrella under our Fresh Start Ministries, and WeCan falls under that umbrella. But he has started, I think the number's up to 15 or 20 faith-based facilities around Arkansas.
Okay, so Tim, you volunteered in pre-release ministries. You're volunteering inside jail. You're just out in the community doing good. Here's another resource that you've taught for a long time that you highly recommend. Yeah. And what's that?
Yeah, that's Search for Significance, written by Robert McGee. I've been teaching that, Paul, 25 years. I was introduced to it by a gentleman that had at the time was operating a Kim Free House here in Little Rock, and it was so impactful and influenced my life a lot that I just took some ownership with it, and been using it in prison, out of prison, in church, out of church, wherever I have an opportunity.
And you are a pastor also.
I am a pastor of a small church, and I've used this material in my church. It's just a way to help people to go back and discover some of their significance that they've lost through rejection, failure. We deal with the shame, the guilt issue, and I've taught it to women. I've taught it to men. It's life-changing. I've taken my teenage daughter through it, the teenage version of it, and it's a great resource that I've poured myself into it. I can't tell you how many of these search for books that I have in my office. I keep them because there's notes in them. You know? And so we're currently teaching it in the Pulaski County Jail, in the CSI Academy, and in the M18 recovery facility there in Little Rock as well.
Russell, have you been through Search for Significance?
I've been through half of it, and then I had to get back to work.
Come on, man.
I was introduced to that curriculum from the Exodus director, Paul Stevens, who I think's been teaching it for forever, back when he was running the Union Rescue Mission.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he started teaching it there.
Yeah.
The thing I remember about it that was so impactful was that most of us will, we get our value in our mind. We kind of think that we're valuable by what we can achieve.
Yeah.
Or what other people think about me.
Yeah, exactly.
Which are just both traps, right?
It's a huge trap for rejection and failure, right? And we all deal with that. And this book kind of walks you through how not to base your worth, your self-worth, or I call it God worth, on your performance and other people's opinions, because God sees us in a different way, and so that's something that we all struggle with. I don't care how successful you are. There's an amount of performance that we do to achieve, and understand that there's some things we need to achieve at, but it doesn't change your God worth or your self worth. God doesn't see you based on your performance or your opinion. He just loves you, So that I tell the guys, I'm your best cheerleader, and so I believe in it, and Funny story about Paul Stevens. That's where I met Paul, through Union Rescue Mission. Back in the old City Fest days, I think, with
Yeah.
Fellowship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul and I were collecting food at War Memorial Stadium, and we were putting it in the back of the Union Rescue dump truck. And he looks at me, he says, "Can you drive one of these?" I said, "No." He said, "Get in." and so that's how I met
Statute of limitations is out on that one now.
Exactly. But yeah, so Jim Phillips and Paul Stevens, as far as I'm concerned, those Jim and I are still connected 25 plus years later, and it was through this.
There's some
material
OGs
right
in
here.
the recovery ministry
Yeah.
here in Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Russell, to kind of wrap us up, for those that may be struggling, truly they're young in their recovery. This life relaunch, what would you tell them just based on your experience? What they could expect if they would go. Encourage them to go. Would you encourage them?
Yeah, I would encourage him to go.
And why?
Because first of all, when you get there, you don't know what's going to go on. So it's kind of like, man, I wonder what's going to happen. What are we going to do? What time? They don't tell you nothing. And I'm assuming it's for a reason, because they want to catch you off guard and give you this information without you having to think about, well, you know what I mean? But when I had committed to do the work that I'm doing, and doing it for a year and a half up there at the jail, I kind of got weary. I was like, but when I went through the relaunch and sat down with Dr. Pillow, it was like the stamp. You know what I'm saying? The relaunch gave me the stamp, and I let a lot of stuff go. I let a lot of anxiety, a whole bunch of stuff. I was just like, you brought me this far. You're gonna keep carrying me. So, it's good. It's a good tool or resource to keep going through it. I'd keep going. If you have the time, keep going through it.
That's good. So to summarize, glad that y'all were with us. There are a couple resources here that you can encourage maybe the churches that you partner with or someone from the church. One of them is Tried and True resource, been around for a long time. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's a Search for Significance. It works men, it works for women. It's a really good resource, and they've got several different editions of this, but that's what that book looks like. And the other one, you can go to wecanministries.org and look for this life relaunch, and there's some calendar feature, a way to communicate,
you'll
find out where the next one's going to be. And
absolutely, we'll respond to your interest in life relaunch. You'll get an invite, and it'll have where most of them we're doing at Fawn Hollow, and then out on the Little Red River. We try to limit that to about 12 or 15 people.
okay.
So.
Fawn Hollow sounds like it's deep in the woods somewhere.
It's a little bit out there, in between Heber Springs and
Banjos playing.
Yeah, right. It's a great lodge. It's beautiful. I mean, it sits on 40 acres. You're just looking out over a lake, and it's just a great kind of a getaway.
Yeah.
Disconnect. Can't get phone service is limited. That kind of environment, and just to break free from all the business. You don't hear there's nothing out there. So it's a great weekend.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us again. I hope that some of you might find either one of these resources helpful to your community as we all seek to build the types of places that are good for all of us.